Hi there. Thank you for joining us today. I am Satish Kataria, a Pathfinder coach, a hustler, investor into early stage startups. So I think today we are going to have a very interesting discussion about how to kind of beat your fears. We're going to understand what fears exactly are. Why do they limit yourself? What are the different kind of fears that one normally go through? And what is the biology of fears? How do we end up embedding our fears? And finally, what are the measures that we can use to beat those fears, right? So I'm going to shift back to the presentation. I'm sorry that you'll have to kind of bear with few technical glitches today because this is the first time that we are going online, and I'm sure that we are also kind of learning the process of kind of doing a live webinar. So we're going to start in about maybe just 2 or 3 more minutes, right? Guys, just give us 2 more minutes and then we'll be going live about it. Meanwhile, if you have any of your questions, what is it that specifically maybe some of you want to know about fears, kindly let me know so that I can kind of put those questions on my phone. Yeah, hi Suhash. I think what you're talking about is about washing hands. That's that's a very different fear nowadays. That has been kind of generated because of thanks to the COVID. We'll come to it. We will try to talk about the fear of habits to some extent. All right. I guess I will start with my presentation. Maybe people will keep joining us. So as I said, I hope you guys can see my screen carefully, properly, right? So yeah. So as I said, we're going to talk about what exactly is fear, what are the types of fear that we normally go through, what exactly is the biology of that fear, and what are the tips to beat that fear, right? So So I think this exactly what fear is all about. Fear is nothing but is an idea crippling, experience crushing, sex storing inhibitor, which we have inflicted on us by ourselves only, right? So fear is essentially a kind of inhibitor, the kind of our own hallucinations, our own experiences that we have put on ourselves. Our fears are nothing but our own restrictive thoughts that we kind of add to our subconscious mind, and because of those restrictive thoughts, and these thoughts keep repeating themselves until and unless they kind of become almost our internal codes, and that is what a fear becomes. That is how we end up kind of experiencing and embedding these fears. So that is what that is essentially what fear is all about. So as I said, fear is nothing but a kind of a mental construct, that we kind of ourselves build for ourselves, and it gets created, it gets kind of repeated every time we kind of do a certain kind of thing or we go through a certain kind of experience, right? And I think one of the biggest thing to fight against fear is to become more aware, right? So today I think thanks a big thanks to all of you who are today here for this session, because today you have decided to become more aware about your fears, and believe me, if you are becoming more aware, you will obviously have a life wherein you will have a better choice. You will have the power to choose not to fear, and hence you will all end up having a much better results, right? Because I think courage is all about understanding what you fear, feeling that fear, and being able to live through that. So that exactly what we need to do and what we will practice today as part of this ongoing presentation. All right. So we're going to talk about the kinds of fears, right? So again, the first one and the most common one, which a lot of entrepreneurs normally go through, is the fear of failure, right? That what if I go out of my way? What if I do something new? What if I fail, right? What will happen? What will the world tell me? What will my family think of me? What will the society think of me? How will I be able to stand in my own eyes? And this is one fear, the fear of failure, which kind of keeps us running away from success, right? But guys, you have to understand one thing here. The secret of success is actually failure. So the more you fail, the more you will succeed, because every failure is nothing but a kind of a learning, right? And again, I'm saying, is fear is just a mental construct. So today, if you know this fear, that this is my fear, that what if I fail, you are fearing failure because you see failure as something which is wrong. You see failure as something which is limiting. You see failure as something which is humiliating. Because unfortunately in India specifically, that is how our society conditions us, right? Our society says that that failure is bad, right? And that is how when we are conditioned by the Indian society specifically, all of us have come to believe that failure is bad. But then all we have to now be aware that failure is not bad. Failure is a learning opportunity. Failure is something that will help us to take the next step towards success. And that is what the fear of failure actually stops you. It stops you from experimenting. It stops you from taking bold steps. It stops you from learning something new. It stops you from going beyond your comfort zones, all because we in our own minds think that failure is not good. We have to just change that one single thought, that failure is good, daag अच्छे हैं. That's the only thing that we need to understand out here, right? The next one, which is while a lot of people feel fear failure, there are a set of people who also fear success. Oh my God, what will happen if I become too successful? What will happen if I get too much money? How will people react to me? Will I be able to handle that success? What if I become too successful and then suddenly I become a failure? What will happen then? That is one more failure, one more fear, which people have in our minds. We do not want to actually understand that what all we can achieve. We do not want to. We are somehow afraid of becoming our best, and that is what then stops us. It stops us in our track. It stops us from giving something our best, because we feel somewhere that यार अगर अच्छा हो गया तो क्या होगा, what will happen. I mean, so you have to, again, you have to make a conscious effort to be your best always, to keep improvising, to give it all that you have with you, because what is stopping you at that moment is your fear of success. The third fear we normally get onto is fear of rejection, right? What will happen if I get rejected? And this is, I mean, normally, so right from your what will I get? What will happen if I get rejected by my potential girlfriend, boyfriend, my parents, my society, my boss, my employers, whatever, right? See, understand one thing. Again, it's all because we in our minds think that rejection is bad for us, right? What we have to understand, the only one single thought that we have to change is rejection is not bad for you. Rejection is something that actually tells you that what you are and what is the gap that you have between what you are currently and what you have to become in future, right? So you have to understand that you have to be strong enough to accept the truth, right? You have to understand that even if I get rejected, that's okay. I mean, You must have heard about so many stories, right? Indeed, I made a whole video on this, on talking about fear of rejection. For example, even if you talk about Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who were the founder of Apple, they were rejected by Hewlett Packard, and they were rejected by Atari when they were launching Apple. And they were rejected almost 5 times. J.K. Rowling, who's the author of Harry Potter, she was rejected almost by I think about 50 plus publishers before the final publisher, agreed to publish her book. But she did not stop, right? She went on and on because she had that ultimate conviction in herself that she can do it. The other fear is fear of not good enough. That is something which we also call this the imposter syndrome. And a lot of founders have this, that okay, I'm doing all this, I've been able to create a startup, but am I good enough? Am I doing justice to my job, right? And a lot of people have, I think, even Elon Musk talked about this once, one in one of his speeches, that I have this imposter syndrome, that whatever I have, have I been just plain lucky, or have I actually worked hard to achieve all this, right? Am I doing good enough, or am I kind of giving my best, right, to a given task, right? So that's another kind of fear that most of us normally deal with. The next one is fear of not having enough, and this is something which is also called as the fear of scarcity, right? I mean, what will happen if tomorrow all my money goes away? What will happen that if I do not have enough resources for my rainy day, and this is something which lead to people to hoard things. They will hold money, they will hold emotions, they will hold on to relationships, right? Because they always feel that they will not have enough in their life, right? You have to understand, the reason why this fear is there, because sometimes when we know that there is something which is lacking in us, there is something lacking internally, and that is why we see a reflection of the same thing in our outer world, right? We see that there is something lacking in the outer world also. We are not having enough. For example, sometimes when we are not loved enough, we will see that the outer world also does not have enough love for us. So all that is happening is, what you think is something missing inside. You will feel that there is a similar lack of that thing in the outside world, right? Now, what is the antidote out here? The antidote is that you have to live to accept abundance. You have to believe that that if you're consistently working to make yourself better, if your intention is clear, you are living in abundance. What you have is enough for you. You do not need more than that to go to your next step, right? So you have to have that strength of believing that you have enough with you, right? The next one we have is fear of looking different, right? Again, a lot of people look different. Someone looks fat, someone looks thin, someone looks black, someone have a dark skin, right? Again, it's just a mental construct within ourselves that, why are we different? Why are we not something which 99% of people are like? If 99% of people are building 6 abs, why am I not building 6 abs, right? Why am I looking different? Why am I looking fat? Guys, you have to learn to accept yourself, right? Right, then we come to the fear of losing control, right? Again, now this is another fear that most of us people have. We always want to control our things. We kind of become control freaks, right? We feel that, why can't everything go as per what we plan, right? And then, some things, when things do not go as per what we had planned, kind of, we become disillusioned. We become desperate, we become depressed, right? Again, the antidote out here is that we have to learn to let go, right? We just have to sometimes understand that, a larger destiny out there is working for us. We have to just believe in that, and you have to be strong enough to let go. But sometimes when things do not work as what you have think, is actually a good indication. You are being saved in that situation. You are being protected by someone larger than you, right? And you have to have that strength of letting go. The other fear is obviously fear of being alone. And this is something which a lot of people have, right? So again, you have to learn to be with yourself, and you have to learn to love yourself. You do not need any third person love in your life to be complete, right? You are never alone, right? And if you can learn to love yourself, you will never feel alone in your life. It's just a perception in our mind that just because we see people living with others, we all have been brought up as social animals. We often feel that if we're alone, what will happen to us? Why are we not having friends? Why are we not having girlfriends? Why are we not having boyfriends? Why are we not having relatives? Why are we not having friends? Right? Believe me, it's not necessary. It's not something which should depress you. It's not something which should ever hold you back. Today is a generation which you have to accept yourself. You have to understand that you yourself are enough to love yourself. You do not need anyone else to do that. All right. Then we come to obviously the fear of illness, right? What will happen if I fall ill? A lot of people even reach to an extreme level that they often going to doctors and saying that doctor, please check me up. I think there is something wrong with me. And again, this is something which has become very prominent nowadays. Just hold on, sorry. Yeah, which has become very prominent because of the current COVID situation and all the media fever, all the media hype that has been built around COVID, right? This fear of illness has become very compounded these days, very aggravated these days, guys. Again, even if it's COVID, you do not have to fear it, right? There are numbers, there are statistics which show us that COVID may not be as harmful as it is being projected to. If you are consciously healthy, if you kind of maintain a healthy lifestyle, if you eat right food, if you maintain healthy habits, believe me, nothing is wrong going to happen with you, and you will live a very fulfilling, healthy life, right? So nothing is going to bad happen with you. Next, we move on to the fear of love, right? Sometimes people fear love. They cannot accept love. They become unaligned if they start seeing that someone is loving me, and this is a very common fear in most of us. When someone actually comes to us and they want to love us, we actually then start building walls in between. We start to push those people back from our lives because we fear being loved. Guys, we have to be open to accept love, right? We guys, we all are good souls within us, right? And love is not something which is bad. Love is something which we need to again feel complete. And love is something that we should be open to accept and reciprocate if someone is giving us their love in a wholehearted manner, right? So that is how it should be happening. So we should be open to accept love. Next one is fear of being insignificant. That's again a very typical fear, right? That am I good enough? Am I really significant to my organization? Am I adding sufficient value to whatever to work I'm doing, right? Again, the only thing that we need to understand here, the only thought process that we need to change here is that we need to appreciate our own value, right? Do not compare yourself to what others are doing or others are adding. As long as your intention is clear, as long as you know that you are trying to give your best to a given situation, you have to learn to appreciate your value, right? And that brings us to one of the last kind of fears which we're going to discuss today, which is the fear of being authentic. Again, most of us, in an attempt to sync with the society, we try to put on mask. We try to become unauthentic. We try to copy what others are doing. We try to copy their behaviors. We try to copy certain attitudes in life. We try to accept certain lies around our lives. We we stop living the way we are, and we try to live the way others are living because we think that living in that way will make us successful. And that is wrong. We all are born different. We all have our own unique set of values, and we all will contribute to this world in our own unique ways, right? So we have to understand that we have to be authentic. If you are authentic, if you are true to yourself, both internally and externally, believe me, the world will accept you. The world will value you for being authentic. This is how you'll be able to create your own legacy. This is how you'll be able to build your own path. So these were the kind of fears that we normally have. Before I proceed to next section, I just wanted to understand if any one of you have any questions, or if someone wants to give any examples, if they can relate with any of the fears that I've talked about so far. Any questions? I'll wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll take it forward. Okay, so I think I'll move on to the next section now, which normally talks about the biology of fear. So fear is actually a very important skill set, which was part. Sorry, yeah, I got a question from Kunal, which says that how to cope up with the past mistakes, right? Right, Kunal. Kunal, while I will talk about it, and you will learn more about it in my upcoming slides on how to beat fears, right? But then, typically, I think one simple answer that I would like to give to you, Kunal, right now is the past is the past, right? And again, we believe that a lot of us believe that we cannot change the past, but that is not true, right? Whatever happened in the past was an experience. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad, but I think we always have to take it as a learning. If we have affected someone, maybe all you can do is kind of give them a sincere apology, and move on. You have to move on in life, because if you will remain in past, you will miss out the kind of opportunities, the kind of abundance that the future has in store for you, right? We all have to learn to live in the present. The past is gone, we cannot change it. However best we want, we cannot change the past, and we have to accept that fact. We all have to learn to move on, because if destiny wanted to, wanted us to stay in the past, it would have not given us another day of life. If we have got another day of living, it is because of the reason that the God, the destiny, the greater universe, wants us to prove ourselves again. They want us to amend those mistakes that we may have made in the past, right? So every new day, every new morning is a new opportunity for you, and we have to accept that fact. We have to slowly learn that fact, and slowly try to move on, right? I hope that somewhat answers you, Kunal, and I will anyway take this up in my following slides as well. Right. So we were talking about the biology of fear, right? So as I was saying, fear is an important skill set. Fear is an important part of our unconscious mind, subconscious minds, and it was there because it was there so that humans, as they were going through the various phases of evolution, fear was a kind of a natural reaction for our mind, so that it can tell our body to protect ourselves in case we approach certain dangers, right? So that was the reason why fear was an important skill set. So fear itself is not an enemy, right? Understand, fear is not always bad. Sometimes fear is good. Sometimes fear will tell you that how to avoid a very very extreme risk that you may want to take, right? It is because of fear that we do not end up jumping off the cliffs, we do not end up burning ourselves, we do not end up doing things that may be harmful to our body, we do not kill ourselves, we do not hurt ourselves, right? And the reason that you are protected is because there is a fear in your mind that protects you. So fear is not bad in that sense. But also on the same hand, as humans evolve and as those physical dangers kind of reduced, our brain developed more layers to it. Our brains developed more and more outer layers, and in that outer layer, the brain also has a control of whether we need to trigger that fear or do not need to trigger that fear. And it has now been scientifically proven that we all have a time period of about 0.25 seconds, which is a gap between our response to a given stimulus, right? And if we can learn, I know this is not easy, right? But if we can learn to realize this thing, if we can become a lot more conscious about why are we reacting in a certain way, why are we seeing a certain thing in a certain way. So if we can learn to slowly become more conscious of our feelings, that okay, if someone is loving me, for example, if someone is coming to me and trying to express their love to me, and if I am kind of resisting that, I will resist that within seconds, because that is how my fear is. I will immediately my fear of being loved will get triggered. But then if I become a little bit more conscious, if I become a little bit more mindful, I will know that this is my fear, I will tell my fear to hold on. Being loved is not bad, okay? Feeling is not bad. Being successful is not bad. Being alone is not bad. Whatever fears we thought about, we have to tell our brains that hold on, it's just a fear in your mind. It's just a reaction that you are doing it because that is how you have been conditioned with it so far. You can now change your reaction to it. You can now change your behavior towards it. You can accept that this is a fear, and every opportunity that you get is an opportunity to learn, is an opportunity to kind of change your mindset, change your behavior, become more aware, and hence try to live a better choice, right? So that is what the biology of fear is all about. That is what you have to become conscious about, being being aware of what is happening, why are you reacting in a certain way. For example, most of us, if you would have noticed, in almost 80 to 90% of situations, most of us get angry at others. you know we get angry at others not because they might have done something wrong. It's because of our own fears, right? For example, I may get angry at my co-workers because I may feel that if they do not do the work in the right manner, my venture may fail, or I may not be able to get to my deadlines. Again, understand that how the reactions happen. Because I fear being failed, I kind of become angry at my co-workers. But if I start becoming aware now, if I start realizing that this is just a fear, it may not lead to failure, I will have always time to improve upon it. If I can tell my co-founders that this is the right way to do it, if I do not shout at them, and if I kind of become more emphatic at them in those 0.25 seconds, I will be able to react in a better way. I will be able to get a lot more productive output in that manner. Right. So this is another thing which I wanted to talk about, which is the enculturation, right? As I was saying, most of the fears that we have are within the realm of our subconscious mind, and these are being carried through the experiences of our lifetime. See, no one is born with fear. If you would have seen a small kid, a kid has no fear because he doesn't know what will happen. He has not experienced that thing. And which is why we as adults are always more cautious about what our kids are doing. Because our kids may even hurt themselves because they do not have fear of a thing. And that is the reason. I mean, if you actually ask me, a kid can learn to walk. Even if a kid will fall 10 times, 15 times, he will get up and he will try to learn to walk. Believe me, if we were adults, if those kids have an embedded fear of falling down and getting hurt, they would never learn to walk, right? In the same way, all of us go through various experiences in life. All of us may have gone through a bad rejection, may have gone through a bad phase of failure, may, maybe we have gone through a bad phase of illness, or we might have seen our dear ones going through a bad phase of illness, and all those experiences, they keep adding up in our subconscious mind, and producing all this kind of fears, right? So again, the only solution, the best solution, is to be able to fight them, to be able to start looking within, to be able to become more aware, and to be able to become a lot more conscious about why are we reacting, what are these fears, what are we fearing, is it just a fear, is it a reality, is it truth, or is it just a fear, right? So we have to take care of all those things. All right, so that brings us to the most interesting part of the presentation, which is how do we beat the fears, right? So I believe you guys are ready to now hear the tips. All right, so can you just maybe if one of you can just quickly type in your feedback? Are we going too fast? Are we going too slow? Is it helping? Is it helping you? Has the whatever I've spoken so far, has that been interesting or no? I will really appreciate if one of you can kind of quickly give your feedback, please. Any feedback, guys? Thank you, Kunal. That was really useful. All right. So let's start, right? So let's start with the first tip of how do we beat the fears. So the first tip that I've been speaking throughout is heightened awareness. As I've been keep saying that we have to become a lot more aware, right? And it will also help, if we can start to journal what we feel, right? Start writing what you feel. Start when you observe something of those lines, make up a diary, make up your fear journal, make up your fear diary, and start writing that, I did not do a specific thing because I was fearing. I did not do a specific thing because of whatever reasons, because of whatever fears I had, right? So journal your thoughts, write about them, because sometimes what happens is, sorry, sometimes what happens is when you will write your fears, then you will realize that they are actually much smaller than what you think, right? Your fears are not as big as most of us make them out to be, right? These are very, very small thoughts, and if we can learn to become more aware of them, we can learn to beat them also, right? Second, validate your fears, right? uh, Hear your fears, uh, right? Again, understand your physical reactions, right? Why are we, for example, why are we getting angry, or why are, because what will normally happen is, you will normally see that there are certain physical reactions which are associated with your certain kind of fears, so you will see that when you're fearing something, you will suddenly see that either you're becoming, your body temperature will go up for a few seconds. You may start sweating. You may start kind of trembling inside. It could be any of those physical reactions. So again, hear them. Be more conscious, be more aware. And you will realize that, boss, what am I doing is not because of a given stimulus. What I'm doing, the way I'm reacting, is because of a certain kind of fear that I'm feeling, right? So that's the second tip. The third tip is, give a voice to your fear, right? Tell your fear to your mentors. Tell your fear to maybe to your close friends, right? And take their help. Take their help that, boss, next time I'm going through a certain reaction, please remind me that this is my fear and not the actual condition, right? It always helps that if you share your fears with your close groups, maybe your deep friends, maybe your family members, and then they will always help you to kind of cross over those fears, right? And also understand in this case is what you resist, will persist, right? So if you are resisting something because of what you fear, that thing will only grow. So you have to realize that fact. You have to make a very conscious decision of that fact that there is no point of resisting something just because you fear that thing. Just let go of it. Just go through that, and once you are able to go through that, you will realize that that fear has faded away. That thing is no longer powerful enough to hold you back now. It is a past. It is gone. All right. Write to your fears. This is a kind of another step which goes beyond writing a journal. Write a letter to your fear, that fear of failure, you will have no power to hold me, right? I will do my best, and even if I fail, I know that you are just a step for me towards success. You are not something which is bad. You are not something which is wrong. So write letters to your fears. Again, I know, this idea may seem quite silly, but believe me, if you feel that you have something which is a very very deep fear inside you, and if you sit down and write a letter to your fear, you will automatically start to become more aware. You will automatically start to realize that why you can beat that fear. Why you can tell that fear that you are not powerful enough to hold me. My potential, my confidence, my internal power, my internal conviction is very, very strong enough to be able to beat you. And this is why I'm writing this letter to you, that be within your limits. Do not bother me again. Do not come in my way, and I can beat you, and I will beat you. If you can write this link, if you can really write this thing, you will start to realize that your subconscious mind will start accepting that, okay boss, I can cross over that fear. I do not need to be held back, because this is the way that you can start training your subconscious mind to start beating your fears. And that is what really we want. That is what really we need to train ourselves to do. The next step, do what you fear, right? So that reminds me a story. There was an old monk, and once this old monk was going to a temple, right? And in that temple, there were 10 ferocious dogs, and all of those dogs were kind of chained, and they were barking at him, because these are ferocious dogs, and they were hungry, and they were trained maybe to be to bark at intruders, right? So but this monk was very very peaceful, and he walked into the temple, okay, and suddenly one dog, his chain got away, right? He was able to break free of the chain, and he started running and barking towards the monk. Now just imagine what the monk did. The monk did not fear. The monk, because he knew that this is just a fear, he started running towards the dog. He started running towards his own fears, right? And that is what you have to do in certain situations, right? That is what sometimes can actually help you. Instead of running away from fears, maybe at times you need to run towards your fears, so that your fear can start fearing you instead of the other way around, right? And this is why we normally say that when you are able to engage yourself in a lot of adventure sports, or in high action sports, you normally train your mind to be able to beat those fears, because what you're doing is, if that sport is done in a safe environment, you are able to protect yourself, and you are able to beat those fears. So sometimes sometimes doing what you fear actually helps you to beat that fear. Sorry, I was just taking a water break. Yeah. So next step is, let's look at creating a vision board. So what we can do out here is, let's make a collage of our best life. Pull up the image, pull up your old images, when you were really happy. Okay, pull up the letters when you were really successful. Pull up the love letters of your life, which were accepted by your beloved, right? So make a large vision board, See, never. What happens in most of the times when we are kind of living our life. Most of the times, we forget the successes, the good things that may have happened to us in the past, right? We only kind of become depressed of what is not working out, or what is we are fearing, right? It is very important to understand that we should always remember the good things that our past had, and if you can make a kind of a vision board or kind of a huge chart paper, and you can stick around some of your best life moments out there, what really helped you when you were young, what were the good moments, the most happiest moments of your life. And if you look at those happiest moments very often, or whenever you are sad, and if you can look at those happy moments, that itself will give you a certain amount of courage to be able to beat your fears. All right, that brings us to the next tip, which is, sometimes it always helps to reframe your story, right? Reframe your present. Some lot of things, lot of times we keep talking about our life in a very negative way. That I will not be successful, I will not get successful, I will not achieve this certain milestone in life. Because we have to start saying a lot more positive things in our life, right? We have to ensure that whatever we are saying is positive. Whatever we are saying is not negative. We have to give ourselves a lot of positive reinforcements, and that is what will help us to kind of cross over and to be able to beat those fears, right? And finally, I think one of the last tip is love, right? Love for being in the moment, right? Celebrate your life. I'm not saying that you should always go seeking out love of others. No, you can love yourself. You can love yourself this very moment. You can celebrate your present this very moment, right? You do not need to go out. And if you can start to love yourself, if you can learn to love yourself, believe me, half of your fears will just vanish. Because as I kept saying, fear is nothing but just a kind of your mental construct. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. Right? And understand one thing, that the greatest life lies where your greatest fears are, right? So I think the next line will be able to kind of conclude it in a very, very good manner. I think if you can kind of take a printout of this one slide, right? If you can kind of remember these words forever, whenever you fear failure, whenever you fear anything, if you can just remember these words, believe me, you will be strong yourself. What this line say? It says that I must not fear. It is a mind killer. I will let it pass through, and only I will remain. So that this statements, I think, is just what concludes everything, right? If you can remember this line, if you can take this line and kind of make it, keep it in your mobile forever, I'm sure it will help you a lot, right? Understand, you are not your fears. You are a different personality. You are your abilities. You are your positive attitude in life. You are your conviction. You are your aptitudes. You are your love, right? You are not your fears. So always remember that thing whenever next time the fears start hampering you or coming in your way, right? So I guess with that, my presentation comes to a conclusion. If you have any questions, then I will, maybe just have one more slide after this. But if you have any questions, kindly put it through. I'll wait for 2 minutes for any questions if you have. Yes, Sonal. Again, so I think what I meant by that was we normally scold people because again if you see that, sorry, yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. Is what I was talking about, Sonal. What happens is when we have to be, little more aware of why are we frustrated, and in most cases, we become frustrated because there is a fear behind those frustrations, right? It could be again any of those 12 fears that I spoke about. It could be, yeah, sorry. No, that's what I'm saying. See, again, there are two things to it, Sono, right? One is that you have to realize that while you're scolding someone, so as I said, if you can become a lot more aware and a lot more mindful of how you're reacting to something, so one, if you first, before you scold someone, understand that, why you may have scolded that other person. Is it because of your own frustration or your own fear? If that is the case, then you have to look within you and you have to kind of maybe change your behavior to a certain extent. And on the other hand, if you think that the other person has seriously not performed, and there is a genuine reason of scolding that person, I am sure that there are multiple layers of handling this. Maybe at first, in first few instances, instead of scolding that person, you can explain to them that what will happen if they do not do a thing in a certain manner, and how will it impact that person and how it will impact you. So maybe you can, I mean, you do not have to be loud to be impactful. You can be soft, you can be emphatic while being impactful, right? So you have to be just aware of that thought. Sometimes we do not have to necessarily scold others just to be heard. We can be soft, we can even tell them, keeping our voice tone low so that other person also realize that what kind of mistake are they making, and maybe you can give them a certain benefit of doubt, or you can give them a certain opportunity to them to kind of improvise on themselves, right? So I think it all is a question of uh, you know to be able to become a lot more conscious and lot more aware of just right before you're about to score someone next time. Again, if you can write this in a diary, if you can start maybe practicing it slowly, I know it will not happen, the change will not happen on day one. I myself have gone through this. I myself have sometimes scolded my employees, and I myself have kind of learned that lesson in a hard way. But all I'm requesting is try to be a little bit more mindful. Try to become more aware of why you're doing this, and if there is any other way to be able to express your points other than scolding someone. I hope that helps, Son. All right. So I think if there are no more questions, I just want to kind of talk about my coaching program. If any one of you are really wanting to become a lot more aware and conscious entrepreneur. Yeah, thanks, Sonal. Thanks so much for that. Right, and if any one of you are looking out for an immersive coaching program, so what I have kind of built using my experience of last 20 years of my life, being an entrepreneur. So I have kind of built this program called Claim Your Path program, which is a very kind of an intensive 12-week program wherein we kind of look at various internal issues. We look at how all these negative emotions that you may be carrying with you, can be treated. How you can actually kind of turn your negative emotions into your positive strengths. So there are a lot of things that across these 12 weeks that we will help you. This program can help you out. We will also kind of look at the practical solutions to any of the specific problems that you may be facing during your journey right now. And then we will also the program also kind of specifically covers 2 week of coaching on being mindful and on being meditative, because I believe that as I kept saying, you have to learn to be mindful, and so that's part of this entire coaching program. You guys can have a look at my website, which is buildyourownparts.com, and you can always have a lot more details on the program. I'll be happy to answer any more questions on the program. I'm sorry, Rajesh, I'll come to your question now. How does one deals with ego at workplace? All right. Now I'm not sure if this is your own ego you're talking about, or you're talking about someone else's ego. Again, remember, a lot of people will have ego as a mask to hide their fears. Again, the one of the reason of ego is fear, right? And if someone is showing a lot of ego, it is because they have a lot of fear within them. They have a fear of being rejected. They have a fear of not getting sufficient with them, and that is the reason that they're being egoistic, right? So if there's some other person, okay, you're talking about self ego, yeah. So again, I think the only thing you have to become is become aware of why are you having this ego. Because you're having this ego maybe because you fear that others may kind of outcompete you, or others may get more in life as compared to you, or others may kind of or you may feel that you are not being sufficient, right? So you have to go deep down. You have to understand that where is this ego coming from. Why is this ego there? What is the Because I'm sure there has to be a underlying fear behind the ego. And the moment that you can realize that fear, maybe there are not just one, maybe there are 3 4 fears behind that ego. And the moment you can understand those fears, and you can start treating those fears, start attacking those fears, start beating those fears, your ego will automatically start getting treated. So just do that. Just be more aware. Try to understand why this ego is coming. Why am I being egoistic? As I said, it could be fear of feeling fear of others taking away what you already have in life. Whatever it could be certain fears. So know the fears that are leading to your ego, and if you are becoming more aware, you will have more choice to beat this ego. I hope that helps, Rajesh. All right, guys. So this is my email ID. This is the website. I hope you like this small presentation. Thank you so much for your time. Sorry, Sonal, I just got your question. Yeah. Yeah. So as I said, Sonal, we have this program, and wherein we will talk about certain techniques to enhance your mindfulness. We will talk about certain techniques on how you can learn to center yourself on certain thoughts, that can bring a positivity in you. How you can become a lot more aware of your own negative codes that you may carrying within you, and you may not even know about them, right? And once you start becoming more aware of those negative codes, we will also tell you that how each negative code can actually be converted into a kind of an empowering code, or energy code, right? And which can actually then your codes can then start inspiring you to even become better. So there are few chapters, there are few specific techniques on mindfulness that we try to cover, and you are more than welcome to send me an email, and we can talk more about it. Yeah, so as I said, just send me an email on this email ID, and we can discuss this in detail. All right, guys. So I think with that, I will conclude this session. Thanks so much for being with me. And again, I'm sorry for certain technical glitches that we went through. hopefully, the next webinar I think will be better in those terms. So once again, thank you and wishing you all the best. And I hope that after this presentation, some of you will become a lot more aware and will be able to beat your fears from now on. So with that, all the best and have a good evening. Bye.